as big. Oh, I see some hands up. We're not as big as Nigeria, so I understand. But Trinidad and Tobago is a twin island republic in the Caribbean Sea, meaning it's right between North America and South America. And it's actually the last chain of islands, the Caribbean chain of islands. So it's very close to Venezuela. And I say that and explain that because that is where my parents came from before they moved to the United States. And that story of being a child of immigrants was very important and formative in how I reached to this place where I am today. But the idea of the American dream is not just about people who might be immigrants or children of immigrants. This idea of the American dream is something that all Americans, no matter what their background is, are really trying to achieve every day. And I think it's something that is universal, because when we talk about the American dream, when we talk about people wanting good education for their children, people wanting to live in good housing, have the opportunity to work and earn a living, to work hard, and then to rise in the ranks for whatever the profession is. I really think that's a universal theme that isn't just applicable to the United States. So again, a bit more about my background, and then I know we'll have some questions. So the American dream. So my parents came to the United States in the 1980s. My mother actually was the one who came as on a worker's visa in the STEM fields, and STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and maths. So my mother was a woman in STEM before it became popular. She had studied finance, what the equivalent of what would be finance, and she came to the US to work in the banking sector. And my father was a student who was studying architecture, but they had met in their country before they came to the United States. And when they came to the United States, as is the history of many immigrant communities, there were already small pockets of people from the Caribbean in New York, specifically in Brooklyn. So that is where my parents first came to the United States, in the Brooklyn area, New York. And then they later moved to New Jersey, where me and my siblings were born. And in that story, I can say that I grew up in a very diverse community. I grew up in the New York, New Jersey area, where people of all different walks of life lived, where many of them still had many of the traditions, foods, cultures that they practiced in their home countries, but then they assimilated those and they melded those together with the American cultures. And that's the community I grew up in. So in my community in Elizabeth, New Jersey, there were a lot of people from Latin America. That's where I first was exposed to the Spanish language, where I first had the opportunity to try different foods from people from Latin America. So they have something called arepas. There was lots of rice dishes. And it was that from that opportunity, and also, of course, just myself being a child of immigrants, this passion for understanding other people's culture, other people's languages developed in me when I was a young child. I can also say that I often would travel to Trinidad and Tobago with my parents over summer breaks to stay connected there. So I always had this desire to want to be connected and know more about the world and those and other people's cultures. So I grew up in New Jersey, and then when it was time for me to study in college, I knew that I wanted to study something that would allow me to continue to explore and learn more about other people and their histories. So I chose to study international affairs in college for my undergraduate degree. And I went to the place where I thought, where's better to learn more about other people's cultures than the capital of the United States? So I went to Washington, D.C. For college. And of course, many of you know, just like how here in Nigeria, we have embassies in Abuja and consulates here in Lagos, in Washington, D.C. is where you have all of the other countries' embassies. So Nigeria, of course, has an embassy in Washington, D.C. And it's just a very cosmopolitan and international place, because that is where the representatives from all around the world, if they want to interact with the US government, that is their first stop, Washington, D.C. So that was the backdrop of my studies in university. And I'll tell you that when I went into university, I didn't go in saying that I wanted to become a diplomat. Actually, it's funny. It's something that my father would always joke about and say, "Oh, you should be a diplomat." And I told him, "Oh, no, I don't want to, I don't want to be a diplomat. I want to, explore and maybe work for an NGO." So it's funny how years later I'm here. So that's to say, I guess we should listen to what our parents say. They know a lot of times where we might end up before we even know ourselves. So I studied undergraduate international affairs, as I mentioned, in Washington, D.C. And then I knew that in order to be in this field, international affairs, you needed to have international exposure, right? I couldn't just live in the United States and say that I was somebody who was international, who was working in international affairs. I had to go abroad. So that's what I decided to do after I studied, was I went to Senegal and I taught English for a year. That was a way for me to really expose myself and live amongst different people and learn really what it was like to be somebody who wanted to connect cultures. I should also mention that in undergraduate, I also studied abroad in Senegal. So I had some exposure already to that particular place. And then after I did that, I came back to Washington, D.C., where I worked in NGOs, focused on maternal health. Another NGO was focused on helping pediatric AIDS, children who had AIDS, and giving them supports. And eventually I decided that I needed to get another degree so that I could really advance further in my career. And that's when I went back to school, again in Washington, D.C., to earn a master's, specifically in African studies. Because at this point now in my career, I really had developed a deep appreciation and understanding of African cultures broadly, and specifically in West Africa because of my time there. So when I was in graduate school, that was actually my first time coming to Nigeria. So I came to Nigeria first in 2015. It's amazing to think that was over 10 years ago, was my first opportunity coming to Nigeria. And I wanted to do that because I had so many Nigerian friends in the United States. And the more we talked about it in a academic sense, when people talk about Africa and the vibrancy and the economy, everything always came back to Nigeria. Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. And I was like, what is this Nigeria that everybody is talking about? I need to go and experience it for myself. So I came as a graduate student in 2015, and I went to Abuja. And at that time, of course, it was during the very prominent, of course, Bring Back Our Girls movement. So I actually had the opportunity to go where the organizers were gathering in Abuja, understand, the causes, what was going on, and look at it also as a way of political organization, particularly for women. So as I was studying, one of my interests was in women and also in women's political movements, and how in times of crises, women find each other, right? Not just in times of crises, in times of joy and celebration as well. But we also know that in times of crises, women come together and really support their communities. So I had that opportunity. I wasn't there for too long, maybe about a month. I was in Nigeria. And when I left that time, Nigeria has always remained in my mind and in my heart. So fast forward, I had the opportunity to return as a diplomat, and I immediately jumped at the chance to come back to Nigeria, this time here in Lagos. And I've been here for 3 years. It's been 3 very, very wonderful years. I can tell you all kinds of stories about the various places that I've been, the great work that I've done with my colleagues in the public diplomacy section, but I'll leave that bit for some of the Q&A. And I think I'll pause there, Josephine. Thank you. Now, Prof.
Can we put our hands together? What an interesting story. And I know many of you who are seated as students, and I particularly loved the way she had this, you know, looking ahead. Oh, I will need this. She went for it. In order to position myself very well, she went for further degrees. Unfortunately, some people are just in school for nothing. I hope you can learn from here. Amanda, thank you very much. So if you have any question, please let's have your virtual hand and then we'll be able to call you. But I want to probe further. You said Nigeria, you've had a wonderful experience. Can you share one at least? One of such wonderful experience
Wow, that's
while
going
in
to be
Nigeria.
difficult to it's going to be very, very difficult to choose. But let's see. What I'll say is that I'm based here in Lagos, and the consulate in Lagos works with all of the 17 states in southern Nigeria. So I've been really fortunate to have the opportunity to travel to some of these other states in southern Nigeria. And I'll say that two of the places that I've been that have really stuck out for me, one of them was Enugu. So we had the opportunity to travel to Enugu. And when we went with a Nigerian American poet laureate. So a poet laureate is somebody who is highly acclaimed in the poetry field. So this young woman, she was the youth poet laureate, and she is of Nigerian heritage. She was born in California, but her parents are from the Southeast. So we thought it was really important for her to have the opportunity to actually see where her family came from and then to interact with Nigerians from that area. So we designed a trip for her to go, and we went to Enugu. And I think between her experiencing for the first time, so some of the places we went, for example, we went to the Center for Memories, so that she could learn a bit about the history of the Southeast. And then we had a few sessions where we brought poets from that area together because she herself is a poet. And then they were able to share their materials and perform with each other. So between her understanding and really getting to experience her own heritage, and then those there interacting with someone who to them is just like them, I think that really encapsulates what this job has really meant to me and some of the experiences I've had over the past 3 years. It's about connecting Americans and Nigerians and showing everyone that we are really more alike than we are different.
Thank you very much. Connecting America with people here. I would like to know because I work directly with you, and I've always seen you like you did today, wearing the adire kind of. Uh, how much of that do you really, really love? I mean, the Nigerian fabrics, is it something you really love so much? Would like to know.
That's a trick question because, like you said, you know me. Oh, I love fashion and I love shopping. And there's so much about fashion and clothing and what we wear that talks about our culture. And for me, that's been a way for me to really understand different parts of Nigerian culture. And then also to be able to share that then with Americans. Because of course, there's many people of the African diaspora who live in the United States, but then there's still so many people who aren't aware of what Nigerian or just more broadly African fashion is. So a lot of times, because I don't wear this just in Nigeria, right? I'll wear these clothes also when I go back to the United States, and it always sparks a conversation about, oh, where did you get that, and what's the purpose, and what does that mean? So it's a way for me to also, in a sense, be a diplomat for the diaspora, so that I can then explain what all of the clothing means. Also, as we talk about some of our work in the creative industries, fashion is such a huge part of that. We know that the creative industries, for example, In Nigeria, that's one of the biggest markets on the continent for the growth of the entertainment and media industry. Fashion plays a really big part in that. And there's a lot of commercial opportunities between the United States and Nigeria as it relates to fashion. There's so many fantastic designers. I hope that if there are any who have joined us in the audience today, that they continue to pursue that, because that really is a big space economically for them to grow. There's such a demand globally for fashion and music and just culture coming from Africa, that whoever might be thinking about that as a career, they should continue to explore it, because there's so much room to grow. And you can never, and really the limit is your own imagination. There's so many new fashions that come out, and people are just, they fall in love with them. And if that person, that designer didn't attempt to make it, no one would have ever known. So really, I encourage you, those of you, no matter what part of the country you're in, people are really looking for understanding and learning more about the stories behind the fashion and the creativity of the continent.
Thank you, Amanda. I have a question from Calabar. It says, how can the values associated with the American dream, such as hard work and equality, influence young people who aspire to become diplomats in today's global society? How can the values associated with American dream, such as hard work and equality, influence young people who aspire to become diplomats in today's global society?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So not just people who want to be diplomats, but anybody. You need hard work. There really is no way for you to achieve what it is that you want to achieve without you putting in the work. And I think what is the beautiful thing about the American dream is that when you put in that work, you are more often than not going to reap the benefits of it. It's a place where just in a generation, right? My parents, one was a banker and one my father. So though he came to the US to study architecture, he ended up working for one of our telephone companies. I'm not sure what the equivalent is here, but he worked for a telephone company. So it's something that we would call like a blue collar worker. But within a generation, they invested money in their children's education. And now they have a daughter who's a diplomat, a son who is an engineer, a computer engineer. So really, the work that you put in and the effort that you put in the United States, you're able to see the results of that. I'll also say that in the US, our process, so if you want to be a diplomat, of course, you have to follow the processes that apply in your country. So here in Nigeria. In the US, our system is very unique, and it's interesting because it's merit-based. And merit-based means that you have to take a test to become a diplomat. So it's not about who you know, it's really about your knowledge of history and cultures. Actually, one of the most interesting things I like about the US Foreign Service, what we call it, or the diplomatic system, is that you actually don't have to go to university to become a diplomat in the United States. You just have to finish your high school, your secondary, and then you have to have enough knowledge about history and culture, and then of course, interpersonal skills, languages always help, to be able to pass the series of exams that are required for you to enter into the Foreign Service. And just that idea alone, that it's not an elitist system, right? You can, as long as you wanted to just study by yourself, if you wanted to, let's say, go to an American corner and read all about American history, you would be able to then take the tests and succeed. And it's not saying that you need to go to university to achieve that. So I think for me, this particular system is something that really speaks to the meritocracy of the United States and the opportunities that present itself. But again, to the question, whatever position or type of profession you want to be in, hard work is essential to making sure that you can achieve that goal.
Wonderful. I'm just getting to know about this for the first time. I always assume you have to have a degree to be a diplomat. Thank you for that information. Um, I want to make a confession. At least I've worked with Amanda for close to 3 years. And one of the things that I really loved about her is her professionalism. She's very, very professional. I don't know how to put it very well. When she speaks as a professional. When she writes as a professional. And this is a question that has been on my mind, and I said, I'm going to ask that question today. We didn't put it on the questions that we put to you. The question is, how did you develop yourself to be such a high level professional? You know, if she's planning program, nothing can fall through the cracks. Whatever, I've watched closely when we have staff meeting and she speaks. So I really, it's a personal question, but I know it's going to benefit everybody here. How can I become an all-round professional? I don't know whether you understand me. Please help me.
It's a funny question, and I'm smiling because so I have two. It's a multifaceted answer. But the first answer I have to say is I have to thank my dad. So and you've met my father. So when I first came to Nigeria, my father came with us to help us settle. He's very much a unique man. But I say I have to thank my dad because when I was younger, I think you have similar things here in Nigeria. You have like speaking competitions. And when I was younger, I always had I guess, a knack for speaking. But it was my father who trained me. So when I was smaller, let's say like JSS 1, age, there were these competitions and you had to either memorize speeches by famous Americans, or you had to, tell your own improvised story. And there were competitions that I would compete in. I actually, when I was younger, ended up going to the national competition one year for these speeches. I gave a speech. One speech once was by Sojourner Truth. Another one was by Barbara Jordan, who is an African-American congresswoman. But in order for me to be very good at these, my father would make me practice. And he would record me practicing, and then he would give me feedback. But the funny thing about how he would tell me to practice is that he would say I had to speak like a preacher, because he knew that I had to be as charismatic as I could be as I'm practicing. Because, when you go into a competition, sometimes you're a bit nervous. So then, you might become more quiet. But if you practice as charismatically as possible, then when you actually have to perform, it'll be the perfect level that you needed it to be. So you can imagine me now as like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and I'm practicing as if I'm preaching in front of, a congregation. And he would record me and then we would watch it. So from very young, my parents, so my father was always, that was his realm. And then my mother, as I mentioned, she was in finance, but she later, after she left finance, became a teacher herself, a math teacher, because my mother was always very passionate about academics. So both of my parents really ensured that we had a solid background, and everything that we did, it had to be done to a very professional level, even as 10-year-olds, even as 11-year-olds. So I would definitely say that is the household that I grew up in, and then it has followed me through life. And the more that I've grown, it's something that I've seen that people appreciate. So it's always something that bosses appreciate. So this is something for the young people who are in the audience. People who you work for, your bosses, will always appreciate when you are very precise, when your work is clean and finished, because you're making their lives easier. So that's something for you to remember. I remember at one point when I was still deciding what I should do after teaching in Senegal, I reached out to a woman who had an NGO, an older woman. She had an NGO that was working in Mali, and she needed help. She was older, so she didn't really have the social media or Excel, Microsoft Word skills that younger people do. And I reached out to her and I said, "Oh, please let me help you. I want to help you. I can show you what I can do. I can make your life easier." And through that, we maintained a very great relationship that later helped me in life. But it was me coming to her with skills that she didn't necessarily have at that time, that then helped her propel her NGO even further. So this is just something to think about. Young people, you all have skills that are valuable, particularly when you're thinking about the workforce nowadays, social media, AI. These are a lot of things that, no offense to our elders, that sometimes they don't know how to do as well as you do. So you have to think about that as something you can offer and you can help. And then that way they'll really be appreciative of what you're able to bring to the organization.
Very, very interesting. Thank you very much for that. Can you put us together, everyone, for that wonderful answer? Thank you. Thank you. I also have a question here from Bauchi. We have a lot of Nigerian Youth Service Corps members.
I saw, yes.
He said, "What's your favorite food in Lagos?"
Favorite food? That's a hard one. Anything with spice? Anything spicy. So I enjoy spicy food, being of Caribbean heritage, but the spice that I've experienced here is next level. But I really do enjoy it. And I will say that, so I recently had my daughter, and when I was pregnant with her, it was always the spicy food that I wanted to eat. So give me anything with spice and I will enjoy it, and then need to drink some water immediately afterward.
Thank you very much. As you can see, within the American Center, Lagos, we have school owners. They're about 40 in number. They came for a special session on our House for Teaching and Learning program. I would like you started as a teacher and you became a diplomat, coupled with the fact that several people, we know them in Nigeria, they are teachers, and many of them would like to try other profession. What would be your advice to teachers who would like to change career? Or did you know that that's the best route that you should take, to start as a teacher before you become a diplomat? So the question is, what would be your advice or tips for a teacher who would like to change his or her career?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you to all of the teachers that are joining us. As I mentioned, my mother is a teacher, my husband is a teacher, my sister is a teacher. So I have many, many teachers in my life. And I'll tell you, the work is not easy. So you say that I switched careers. I switched careers because I realized, I don't have it. These teachers, God bless them, because I can't do what they do day in and day out, preparing lessons and then going to teach it and then having to mark the grades and then come back and do it each year, every year, new students, new personalities. It's difficult. And so I'll say that if you're looking to change careers, you have to be able to properly articulate all of that great work that you do and show how it is applicable to so many other fields, right? You're a manager because you have to manage, 30 plus children each day for however many hours. So you're a manager. You're somebody who's creative because you have to create your own lessons and think about how to keep the students engaged. You're somebody who's into tech, because I know those of you, especially who are coming for the program today, are going to be learning how to use these apps so that you can better your learning style. So there are all of these skills that we might think of just broadly as, this person is a teacher, but all of those skills can be used in different professions. So if you do want to branch out, you should just take some time to think about, what is it that I do on the day-to-day that I could then market to somebody else and say, I'm very well experienced in this because I've been doing it for all of these years in my teaching profession.
Thank you very much. I have also a similar question here. Here's a graduate of a Greek trying to transition to diplomacy. So what are some of the tips that you will give to the person? The name is Jennifer. It's on this call.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. So I'll say, based on my experience and my path, you need to think about the skills that you need to be a diplomat. One of the important things is language skills, right? Do you speak another language? What other languages do you speak? Where are those other languages used in the world? So if this is not something that you already have, I would say just take the time to start learning, even if it's small. But again, this initiative will show that you are really open to learning and understanding different cultures. There's so much available now online. That's one thing that I'll say that the current generation has over previous generations. You can teach yourself a whole new skill on YouTube. You can download an app to teach you a language, whether it's, Duolingo or many of the other ones. You need to take advantage of those resources that are out there. And the majority of them are free. You have our American centers, of course, where you can read more if it's specifically American history, but there's other topics that you can read about. If you want to go to university or earn a degree in the United States, we have all of the books available for the various tests. You can learn more about what that process is. So you have the tools available. I think it really is just a matter of putting your mind to it, making a plan, and moving forward with it. I will say that social media is both a blessing and a curse for young people. I would say myself included, because you can get very distracted with the things that you don't need to be distracted about. But at the same time, social media can expose you to so much more than what is beyond just where you live. And I think it's really important as a diplomat for you to understand the cultures of where it is that you might be wanting to go. So for example, I use, many people in Nigeria use Instagram and WhatsApp. I use my social media as a way to keep me up to date with the current trends that are happening in Nigeria. As I mentioned, we work a lot here in the public diplomacy section with the creative industries. So I follow the Bella Nijas, the Pulse Nigeria. So I can keep up to date with what are the young people saying? What is the latest song? What are the events that are happening, so that I can really understand what is happening. And I think that's something that also you can use as you're trying to transition into diplomacy, to just think about that. And I think the person who asked the question, you said, is a graduate of agriculture. Agriculture is also a piece of diplomacy. So perhaps you think about what's the way in which you can carve your own niche in this diplomacy track. For example, here at the U.S. Consulate and the U.S. Mission in Nigeria, we have the Foreign Agriculture Service that's actually currently looking for somebody to join us in the embassy in Abuja, if you didn't know that. But the Foreign Agriculture Service works to help American agriculture businesses that want to come and do business in Nigeria. So there really are a lot of different avenues of how you can be a diplomat. So I would suggest that you just take some more time to explore those and think about how you can make it fit for yourself.
Thank you, Amanda. I have a hand from Calabar. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Calabar.
Go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Roach Brown. I wanted to find out if I thought there's another private mentorship group that you can as well assist some of us who want to follow that part of their career. I've just searched for you on YouTube. I've not seen you. I don't know whether you're on social media so as to follow you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. That's what I was going to answer. Thank you.
You see me on YouTube. This video will be on YouTube, actually, on our our U.S. mission YouTube. But yes, so what I would suggest is, again, just follow our pages if you aren't already. U.S. in Nigeria, and then American Spaces NG, and that's really where you can get not just information and mentorship from me, but really access to programs that will help you develop in a wide range of capacities. I think for us right now, we have a lot of programming on artificial intelligence, and it's something that's really key to unlocking potential opportunities that you might have in the future. I'll admit, even myself, I have taken some of the artificial intelligence courses because I don't want to become that old woman who doesn't know how to use the latest technology. So really, I would suggest just staying on top of all of the new things that are developing and improving your skills so that you could then best market yourself to work with anybody who might be looking for that kind of help.
Thank you very much. I have, it's as if you've seen this question. The question is, the world is changing fast. Artificial intelligence, social media, and world economy are reshaping everything. In your view, what skills should young people develop today to be ready for that future?
Thank you. Yes. So I think that goes back to what I was saying. You need to use all of these technologies that are out there to your benefits and really avoid getting distracted. And I know that's difficult. It's difficult for adults, so it's also difficult for young people. But I think all of the technologies that are out there, the social medias, artificial intelligence, podcasts, all of those things can have great benefit if you use them well. So that would really be my biggest advice, is that whatever you're doing on any of these platforms and apps, make sure you're doing something that's developing you as a person, that you're reading, that you're learning, and that you're not just a consumer. Because if you just turn into being a consumer, then you yourself won't really gain much, but you're giving to somebody else's, business, whether it's a content creator who needs more likes. But you have to always ask yourself, what am I gaining from this? Am I learning something new? Do I have a new skill? So again, as I mentioned before, really just take the time to learn how to use these products and even think about it. So for example, if you are somebody who really likes using social media, you should be asking yourself, how can I create something that people would similarly like to use? Maybe I should get into app development, or maybe I can be, a content creator who can teach people about the new products that are coming out. You should always be thinking about, how can I improve myself, or how can I, turn this into an opportunity for myself instead of just being a consumer of what is put out there.
Thank
and
you,
again,
Amanda.
Of course, American Spaces, we offer, all of you are already at our American Spaces. So and I hope some of the great programs that we offer, and we suggest that you continue to look out for those so that you can develop yourself in some of these areas.
Thank you very much, Amanda. The last question I would like to pose to you is also personal. How do you juggle family and the work of a diplomat? You're a mother, you're a wife, you're a supervisor, my supervisor. So how do you juggle all that? And very soon you are going to move. So moving, balancing. So how do you handle all that together?
That's a very good question. And I think it's one that has been debated for many years, right? This idea is particularly, of course, being a woman. How, as a woman, do you balance working professionally with your family life? And I think at this stage in my life, I've come to the decision that it's not quite a 50-50 balance, right? It's never quite a 50-50 balance. Some days you give more to your job. Other days you'll give more to your family. In the end, when you look at the totality of it, you hope that it will even itself out. But you need to prioritize the things that are of importance on that particular day, that particular week, that month, and then you shift. So for example, as my colleague knows, my son's birthday was last week. It was Father's Day last week. I have my in-laws visiting. So when things like that happen, of course, I'm doing a lot more of the family, the family items, while still, of course, doing my work duties. But then there's other times where we might have a big visitor coming from Washington. Like, for example, the Secretary of State might be coming to visit Nigeria. And these are really key moments. So at these times, then I know I'll be working late into the nights and overtime. And, of course, I have a great husband, so he's also very understanding. But I'll be doing these things, and I know that I'll then have to come back at a later time and balance it out. And what I will also say, and I want to say this and share this personally, because I think it's important for women to share, not just with young ladies, but with young men too, that it really is a family. Oh, what's happening there? It really is a family effort and a collective effort to raise a family in the way that you want to. So you'll see today that many of the stories I shared were about how my father taught me as a young girl, the things that he did to help my education. My father being there was just as important as the things that my mother taught me. And after I leave here, I'm actually taking a year off. So I'm taking a sabbatical, if you call it, so that I can spend more time with my family and with my young children. Again, because it's a balance. I know that being here in Nigeria, particularly in Lagos, I've done a lot of fun evening events, but the evening events meant that there was less time that I was with my family. So I'm looking forward to the next year where I can, be home more and do those things in the house, which I love to do at the same time that I love my job. So again, in the totality of life, we're all seeking balance. But I think in the day-to-day, you really just need to prioritize what's in front of you and know that eventually you'll be able to give more time to the other side.
Need to prioritize. Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for our guest today, for Amanda. I hope you have enjoyed the session as I have. So we would like you to give us your parting shot.
I'm reading some. Are there any more questions here? I was looking to see if you wanted me to answer.
Zaria is raising his hand. Zaria, do you have any question? Oh, okay. Nena, unmute yourself quickly, and if Zaria wants to ask question, please quickly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this. Thank you so much, Ma. Good morning, everyone. So the question I have is, being a diplomat or having the intentions of being a diplomat, is there an age cap? Like you have to be between this age and that other age? Basically, that's what I want to know. And we know as well that everything in life, there's a good and a bad, there's an advantage, there's a disadvantage. So I also want to ask, is there something that somebody, maybe like about two examples you could give me of what a diplomat could do and that would disqualify such a person, basically? I don't know if you understand. So the first one is, what's the age limit to becoming one? And then could there be two examples of something and maybe a behavior or whatever that a diplomat could behave or do that could disqualify such a one? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So on the age of a diplomat, and again, I'm speaking from what it requires to be a US diplomat. And I believe it might be about 18 or 20. So again, because I mentioned you don't need to have a university degree, you really just have to be of age. You need to be an adult, but you need to be able to pass all of the examinations. So often people will join later in life just because they've had more life experience and they think then they're now ready. But there is no fixed, age. You just need to be
Okay.
an adult. There is
Okay.
an age limit though, so you can't be a diplomat after the age of 60 or 65 in the U.S. So,
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
and then
Then this,
examples of to
yeah.
disqualify. I mean, I think I would say it's sort of similar to any other profession. You can't do things that are unprofessional.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not sure
Okay.
if I have any specifics. I don't know what they
That's
are.
okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Zaria, do you still have any question? Okay, I've seen Zaria's question here. He said, what is the best course to study in school to become a diplomat?
That's a good question. I think it would be anything that perhaps is history, politics, languages, because those are all things that we use every day in our day to day. So any of those things would give you enough of the background that you need. Of course, world history, world politics. In the United States and in the university, we have international affairs degrees. So that's what I studied. But again, it's not necessary for you to study in international affairs. But I do think that you need to have your history and your languages so that you're prepared to really represent your country. And of course, do it in another language if need be.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other question? All right. I think we have come finally to the end of today's session. Benin City. Okay. If you see it, you can read it. I can't. Okay, I've seen it. How has working in Nigeria changed your thinking about diplomacy? That's from Benin City.
That's a good question. Let me see. I think so. I've worked. So as they said in my biography, so my first assignment as a diplomat was in Kenya, and then my second one was in the Dominican Republic, which is Spanish-speaking Caribbean. Then I was in the United States, and now I'm here. I don't know if there's anything that has changed necessarily in my thinking about diplomacy, but I think it's been reinforced that really diplomacy at the end of the day is relationships. So it's so key, especially in countries in Africa, having a relationship and building rapport with people really is important in order to achieve any of the goals that you want to achieve. And I think as a American or somebody who grew up in the West, I would say particularly somebody who grew up in New York, New Jersey area, a lot of times the culture of New York is very quick and swift, and at times it can be considered rude, right? You barely say good morning to people in New York City. If you do, they'll think that something's wrong with you. Like, why are you talking to me? It's just a fast-paced, go place. But in Nigeria, that's not the case, right? And I don't have to tell you that. In Nigeria, you have to greet people, ask about their family, ask about their well-being. And as a diplomat, I know many of those of us who come to Nigeria, it's something that we always have to make sure that we remember, right? We can't just turn into this American way of business. Relationships are very important. So again, I don't think it changed anything. It just reinforced that at the end of the day, as diplomats, what we're trying to do is build relationships between our two countries. And I'm really glad that in my time here in Nigeria, I've had that opportunity for that reminder about how important family and people are, because at the end of the day, we can't accomplish anything if we're not close to the ones that are nearby us.
If you overheard what people are saying here, you said it well. If you pass somebody and you don't say it, how are you? How is your family? Oh, that's an offense. Thank you, Amanda. This has been a very interesting session. and it's one of the very best that we've had on this program. I want to truly appreciate you for taking time to be here. I don't know whether you have any other thing to say to young Nigerians who are listening to you, things you have seen in the country. Many do not see opportunities here. Possibly you've seen something you would like to share as your parting shot. This is time to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I just really want to put a plug for the American Spaces. All of you are already connected there. Some of you are coming, perhaps this is your first time coming here. Please, please, please use us as a resource. Our most recent one was opened at the University of Lagos. These resources are for you, and we really hope that you're able to gain something from them. And the idea is that it's just going to give you a little bit more fine tuning of particular skills that will then carry you into the future. And I'll say, as a young person, I did many similar types of programs like the ones that we offer in the American Spaces, because you need to slowly, as a young person, gain skills. And how are you going to do it? I mean, if there's free programs being offered, that's important. But all of these small courses that you take, and you might get certificates, they all add up, because by the time you get to, let's say, my age, which I won't disclose, you can look back and think, wow, I've done this. And I can then confidently go to an employer and say, I have experience doing this. I have a certificate in this. So though at times it might seem like you're just continuing to take courses, you're not sure where it'll lead, I encourage you to continue to do that, because you're really building your profile for what will be, I know, a future of a very, very productive career. So thank you once again, and thank you for all of you joining us today and listening to what we had to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank Amanda again for coming, and for all the directors and everyone who has made this program a memorable one. We appreciate you. On Monday, we're having a special session. Please don't miss it. We're going to have one of our very own, Ayodro Dola, who will be showing you wonderful tips on how you can go into the business of podcasting and the rest. So please don't miss it. Next month, we're planning on having AI training. It's AI for youth entrepreneurs. And we're bringing Olalekan Adeeko, who will be taking that 9-week course. So please don't miss it. Make sure you stay glued to us and have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Sorry.